Hello everyone, it's Erin, and I'm gonna try and stay out of the camera as far as my stomach goes. But I wanted to share with you today all of my coloring supplies. And first I'm going to preface this with I have been coloring since, what was it, 2010. So that's over 10 years, and I have created this collection over the years, and I have used birthdays and holidays and stuff like that to accumulate these things. So this, what you're going to see isn't I just went out and bought these things yesterday. And the other thing is, in all of that time, I've kind of refined my coloring style and the things that I like and the things that I don't like. And that's why you're going to see the things that you're going to see. I had a request for this video, and then I also did a vote for the channel, and so that's why we're doing this. And also, someone mentioned wanting to see my favorite supplies, but I think my collection is reasonably small enough that I can just tell you that, because saying my favorite supplies is going to be like 2 things. So like your favorite of 10 things or whatever is not that much. So I'm just going to have it all in the one video. And obviously the biggest thing in front of us right now, I'm not missing a marker, it needs to be filled, so I had it off to the side. Obviously the thing that started it all is what's in front of you right now, which is Copic markers. I have them in a container that I got from a place on Etsy that does these custom wood inserts. You can sort of see it in the corner here that there's actually wood, and the holes are pre-drilled specifically for the sketch markers. I started with the sketch markers buying well, see, at the time I was very ill with cystic fibrosis, and I was going to the doctors every other week, I think it was, and they were rather far away, but they were right next to an art store. So while I was going to the doctor and we were having that hardship of having to have this constant checkup and everything, my husband was sort of kind of trying to cheer me up and being like, why don't we go to the art store and we'll get the next 5 markers on your list, or the next whatever you would like. And so that's how, while being very sick at the time, I was able to accumulate my markers rather quickly, because there was a few very difficult doctor's visits then. And it was just kind of his way of being like, look, you can distract yourself with coloring and enjoying something while we're dealing with this very, big medical crisis. So that's how I accumulated my markers at the time. I think I documented it on my blog. My blog has been kind of sanitized right now, so it looks a lot prettier than it did before, but there's not as much on there. So I don't think those things are there anymore, but I did document it of just acquiring them a few at a time, and kind of saying, all right, this is the next color I might use, this is the next color I might use, because my theory in purchasing things is to just acquire a few things, see how I'll use them, if I enjoy using them, because the enjoyment of the process is very high ranking for me, as well as if I like the look of something. So even when I was just starting out with Copic markers and just starting out coloring in general, because I did start with stamps at the time, but I started with the Copic markers, I was very focused on, did I enjoy coloring with this? If I was reaching for a new color and I didn't have it, what was that color I didn't have? Is it available in this supply? And then I wrote it down on the list. Like if I needed a grass green and I only had this color, but I really would have preferred this color, then I wrote it down, that kind of thing. And it was just a lot easier than buying a whole set and being overwhelmed and kind of going like, well, now what? I don't understand. So that's how I got the Copic markers, and like I said, I have had these for over 10 years. These are the original ones, except for maybe about 5 of them, I think. I've had to replace the full marker, but most of them have just been refilled, or I occasionally get new nibs for them. They're very sustainable in that kind of way, and they are my absolute favorite supply. If I can use markers on a coloring page, I'm going to use markers. So that's my deal. I'm just going to put these on the floor because they technically go right there, which is in front of where I sit. If you see my streams, I sit right where I'm standing, and then they're right in front of me. But they can't go there right now, so I'm just going to put them on the ground. There we go. So for the next supply, while I was coloring with the Copic markers, I decided that I wanted some more contrast in what I was doing. and I needed some more depth. Maybe I wanted to add a little bit of extra shading, something like that, and I found that it was very difficult for me to get the look that I was going for with just markers alone. So off I went to the internet, and I said, all right, well, what do people do to add just a little bit more depth, maybe a little bit more shadows, or some detail or whatever, and colored pencils kept coming up. And I was like, okay, well, which colored pencils? I followed a few people on Instagram. My Instagram is only artists, so I only see artists and only see different art, and both the people in the coloring world as well as people in the actual fine art world. And one of the people that I followed worked with watercolor, but she also worked with Polychromos, and I was like, ooh, what are those? And so I did some research, and I decided that colored pencils would be good at the time. I think this was 2012. At the time, on the market, Polychromos were about the third behind Caran d'Ache Pablos and Caran d'Ache Luminance as far as expense and quality. And so these were pretty much within my price range, but also high end. And my husband has a very big thing on, I don't want you to have to continually buy things because they break or aren't good enough quality or whatever. I need you to make the money worth it, because you know, he supports me as a disabled person. I'm unable to work, so he does support me in that way. And his thing is, don't waste money. It's one thing if I have to pay a lot, but don't waste the money. So buy something quality that's not just throwing money after, you know, bad money. I don't know that phrase. I know it's a phrase, but I don't know how to say it. Throwing good money after bad. There it is. So that's what it was. And so I did a lot of research, and this is an instance where I did just get a full set, but again, it came down to the research of it is a lot cheaper to buy them in the full set than to buy a small amount. And I did watch a lot of videos, and I talked with that artist who I enjoyed, and I really went back and forth with her as to why she liked them. Would they do what I wanted them to do in general? And I mean, she's a much higher tier than I am. Like I said, she's an actual artist, and I'm just kind of, I feel like a poser. I mean, it's part imposter syndrome and part just, you know, I do my own thing. I'm not anywhere on her level, but she was kind enough to reply to me, and my birthday came along, and it was like, okay, well, I'll get myself a set of Polychromos for my birthday. So this is the original set that I had. Most of these are still the original pencils. I think that, yeah, this one obviously needs to be replaced, but these are the original pencils. I do color a lot, but since they are a supplemental thing, I don't use them exclusively, so they haven't been as refilled or replaced as much as the, say, the ink in my, my Copics. So I went through this last year in 2021. I decided that I wanted cute cases, and that came from another set that I'll show you, but I ended up replacing all of the cases, so I got cute cases now. I had functional ones, but you know what? I just went with some cuter ones. And then since this is a 120 set, I also have my replacements in here, and you'll see a lot of browns, my skin tones. The blues, I don't know why I use them so much, and the greens. Those are just the things that I use a lot. And then again, I went to that art store when they had a sale, and I just got those extras. And it's kind of amazing, it's good to have extras on hand of the things that you use often. But it was kind of amazing. I've had these for a while, and I haven't actually needed them, so I probably didn't need to buy them when I did, but there's no way to know, and you don't want to be caught out in the middle of a project and go, man, I really need that blue, and I don't have it. And that's another reason why, I don't really know where to insert this, but that's another reason why I buy artist quality things instead of budget quality, because getting a full set is good, but also being able to replace those things. You can see a lot of my pencils are starting to get on the smaller side, especially the browns. That's why I have the replacements, because I'm going to need them at some point, and I can just go and buy them individually instead of having to buy an entire set. And so I don't keep them too organized. They're just generally in the way that they were, but obviously since 2012, that's almost 10 years ago, they've kind of been moved around. And this is a set of Graphitint pencils that my parents bought me. I think it was on my wish list, I'm not really sure. But they bought it for me for some holiday or birthday. I don't really remember. I keep track of a lot of things, but that's not one of the things that I've kept track of. So I have these, I haven't used a whole ton Some of them haven't even been sharpened even though I used them, but they are nice. I need to make a swatch so that they can go in here. But yeah, so that was my first set of pencils that I got. And again, that one was a birthday kind of a thing for myself, but from my husband. And along that line, I also have this cool pencil case brought for me by a friend of mine. But also, I have the Faber-Castell Albrecht. I'm not German. My husband is, but I'm not. Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils, which also match the Polychromo colors. So that's what's kind of cool about these, is they all go together. The barrels are hexagonal, so you can obviously tell the difference very easily which one you're picking up, but they do still work as well as the dry ones, so you could just use them dry if you wanted. I use them as watercolor pencils in coloring books that have a double-sided thing where I can't use Copic markers, because the Copic markers would obviously go through onto the other side, and that's not good. So I use these to do base layers in my coloring. And then I will go over them with regular pencils, either the Polychromos or something else, depending on what mood I'm in, usually. So yeah, this is the 120 set. And as well, I forget when I got these, but I have a few. This isn't the whole line. I think this is 50. I mean, you could count them if you want to count them. I don't actually know. I think this is 50 of the Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle pencils. They're also watercolor. They're a little bit higher quality watercolor. The pigments are a little bit stronger. From what I understand, I don't remember like all the things, because again, I've had a lot of these things for very many years. So I got these, I want to say in 2015. So again, quite a while ago. So I did only use these since they are specifically, both of these are light fast, but since these are a higher quality pigment and a little bit of a higher price point than the Albrecht Dürer, I did actually save those for my own artistry, my own watercolor pieces, I guess. I'm not that great at it. I haven't done it in a while, but I do like landscape watercolor. So I have done some of that on my own, and I have used these for that. And they're nice, like, but I haven't used them in coloring books. So, I mean, they're technically a coloring supply, and they're already in the case, so you get to see them. And then next, we have the one that I got this year at the encouraging of my community. We usually talk back and forth on Discord. You'll find the link for that in the description if you want to join us on Discord. But I went back and forth between, did I want to get these pencils? Did I not want to get these pencils? The price point is so high. Maybe it's not that high. I don't know. Do I actually need them? Does anybody want to see them? Because hashtag for the content is a very easy way for me to justify things. And the answer was yes. Go ahead and get them. We want to see you use them. And also, I got a paycheck from both YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you happen to have the ads on, thank you. But also, you can have an ad blocker and just like support me on Twitch, I guess. I don't know. It's up to you. People are like, don't watch the ads and just support my Patreon. But I don't have a Patreon, so I don't know. I can't really tell you where to subscribe or anything that would provide me with monetary gain. If you wanted to support me monetarily, aside from the ads. So I don't know what to tell you aside from that. But ads are awful, so I don't blame you if you're watching with an ad blocker. The point is, I did actually get paid right before this, and my Twitch paycheck also came in right before this. So technically, these ended up being, well, not free, but I earned it, right, with an actual paycheck. Several of them, in fact. So that's a little bit different than me just mooching off of my husband, which I understand that that's a point of view that some people have. It's fine. So anyway, enough talking. I should just open it, right? So these are the Holbein pencils from Japan, and I got these from Amazon Japan, so they were cheaper than, like drastically cheaper, oh my god, than if you buy them at Dick Blick. And I bought the entire set because, again, drastically cheaper price point. But this also, I was not sure if I would enjoy these, so I did buy a smaller set. I bought just the pastel set. I think it was 12 pencils? No, it was, wait, was it 12? I think it was like 12. Here, I'll get it. Yeah, it was 12. So I originally bought this little set. I don't remember how much this was. I think it was like 20 bucks, which is not cheap for 12 pencils. But I wanted to make sure that the Holbeins were an experience that I enjoyed coloring with, because like I said, that enjoyment of using the supply as well as the result that I get is part of my qualifications for if I, you know, want to spend the money on something. So I got this set, and then what I did when I got the full set was I just replaced them with the unused pencils. So these are technically just extras. They could go in here, but I already have a little case, and this is cute. So I just keep that in a little drawer behind me. But yeah, the consensus was, after using the pastel set on YouTube and a few of the videos, people wanted to see me use the full set. They wanted that content, and they wanted like my review of the full set. So I ended up purchasing them, again, by the grace of my community and them financially supporting me. So so yeah, I mean, this is a job for me, so it is what it is, right? It's not a new thing for people on YouTube to get money for the content that they make. So yeah, I really enjoy these. And then also I had to get a case for them that would be pretty, so I made sure to get the pretty case. This was the first pretty case that I had, and so it kind of, looking at it and then seeing the other boring cases that I had, made me go, well, but why doesn't every other pencil get a pretty case? So that's why I ended up replacing a bunch of my cases. So yeah, these are the Holbein pencils from Japan. I'm running out of room. My desk is not that big. It looks big, but it's not that big. It's 6 feet across by 2.5 feet, I believe, this way. And I mean, I know that that's big, but when you put a whole bunch of stuff on it, it's not that big. I'm moving my arms so much because I am Italian, so my sleeves keep falling down, but it's like 70 under these. Oh no, it's not. It's actually a little cooler. It's 69 degrees in here. Which ones are these? Oh, okay, so the other journey of last year was, again, like I said, I like to purchase things when I find a need for them, and when I find myself reaching for something and I happen to just not have it. And one of the things that I didn't have was a very soft set of pencils. And I did go through and purchase a few brands of pencils, and I didn't find anything that was giving me the result that I wanted and the coloring experience that I wanted and the shading and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't finding anything, and I think it's pretty well known that the softest pencils on the market, probably ever, I don't know, but in general, are Prismacolors. Now, when I first started adult coloring in 2016, I got a set of Prismacolors, and they broke all the time, and they drove me crazy, and I didn't like coloring with them, and they felt weird, and it drove me nuts. So I gave them to my mom, and I just said, I'm not going to deal with Prismas anymore. I'm just not. But I was not getting, I had a need for a certain supply, and I didn't have any supply to, fill that need. So I was like, you know what, give him another shot. So again, I went and I bought a smaller set. I don't know how many was in there. I think this is also 12. So I bought a 12 set of Prismacolors on Amazon. I used my Amazon points for my rewards credit card, so they were free because I wanted to not spend money on something that I didn't know I would enjoy. And I colored those things that I was trying to color that I wasn't getting the result for, and the Prismacolors worked. And much to my chagrin, I will sit there and be like, yes, this is what happens sometimes. You're sitting here being a gigantic Prismacolor hater, and they're doing what you want them to do. So I went ahead and I purchased a set, and this is one of those ones where I just straight bought them. It was January, they were $100 and something, and I just straight bought them in a fit of pique, honestly. I was just like, fine, okay, fine, I'll get a set, and if they don't do what I want, I'm sending them back. But as you can see, they're still here, and this is a year of use of this set. So clearly they've been getting their own workout. These also went with me on the road trip to South Carolina that I took, and these were the only pencils that I took with me. So obviously they were good enough for that. I still don't like the coloring experience, I will say that. I find them very mushy feeling, is the only way that I can describe it. I don't like the wax feeling of them. I prefer a harder pencil, but they do give me the result that I want on the certain ways that I use them. So I just have to deal with it, because that's the thing. Like, just because it's a consideration doesn't mean it's the be all and end all. So yeah, I don't enjoy coloring with them, like physically, but I enjoy the results that I get, which is why I still continue to use them. So Prismacolors, 150 set, and then I also have a backup. There was like this super deal where they were like 60. I think when I got them it was $58 for 150 pencils. I mean, these are the only budget pencils I own, which you'll see clearly, because I'm showing you everything I own. So these are the only budget pencils that I have. Like I said, $58 for 150 pencils. I really couldn't pass that up, so I do technically have an extra set for backups. I didn't know how necessary it would be. This is a year of use, and I'm only running down on, what, this green one here? But, oh, and this brown. Of course, brown and green. Nobody's surprised. Nobody's surprised that it's brown and green. But yeah, so, you know, sometimes you do what you gotta do. And these ones at least aren't breaking on me. I'm pretty sure it's because of the adorable little sharpener that I use. I don't use hand sharpeners because they hurt my hands. But I like this little eye point guy. Very cute. Love it. Also portable. Love that too. So, Prismacolor. Next up in the lineup, we've only got 4 more things to go. Okay, so this is a cute little thing. I'm not sure that this was the smartest deal, but it's adorable. So hang on. Yeah, see, it doesn't really work. So the problem with this guy is that there are 84 Neocolors, and there's like, I think this is like 70 something slots. So it wasn't quite perfect, but it's such a cute pattern. It's so cute. Look at the blue little cats. I love it. And it fits them all, technically. They're all in here. They're all safe. I don't travel with any of my things in general. Like I said, the Prismacolors went with me on the road trip, so I did technically travel with those. But in general, I don't leave my house. 2020 aside, I am a shut-in because I have agoraphobia and also cystic fibrosis. I'm not going anywhere. So all of my cases are open just so that I can take them off of thing. I keep them in cases because I find it more accessible. I'm more willing to reach for something when it's in a case versus the tins. I always hated it. I had these since 2011. Yeah. No, 2013. I've had these since 2013, and I swear I didn't touch them for like a year. After I initially got them, played with them, super excited, made a few things, didn't touch them. Why? Because they were in their tin thing. I don't know what it is. It's a personal choice, whether you like your tins or however you want to store them. I couldn't deal. I had to, now I know. Now I know the second that I get one of these big supplies like this, I chuck that thing. The Holbein box, it was gone within 20 minutes of those things getting here. They went in the case and I threw the thing away. Because I cannot deal with those trays, the plastic things, and the putting it away and the layers. I don't have that much room either. Like I said, I just discussed that. I don't have a whole ton of room, and I'm a very neat person, so I couldn't deal. And it was the same thing with the Neocolors. I wanted them to be safe. Obviously, the entire thing is pigment. It's very, not necessarily delicate, but precious. And so I wanted to make sure that these had a case, but I wanted it to be cute, and I think it's cute. I think it really worked out. And they all work just fine. It's just you got to be a little careful with these guys when you're picking them up, but works out. All right, and the last two, wait, no, well, I got 2 more pencils, and then I got some markers, and that's it. Okay. So these are an interesting trifold kind of thing because these next 2 sets are 72 pieces. So these are the Inktense pencils by Derwent, and they're kind of the only Derwent product I like. Just to be honest, I've tried Color Soft. I've tried, gosh, I don't even, Polycolor, Procolor. It's called Procolor. I've tried the Procolor, even the Graphitint are not as good as the Inktense. And the quality, I don't know if I have just had bad luck or whatever, but even buying individually, I have had horrible luck or experience or whatever you want to call it with Derwent. So I can't really speak to the company. Obviously, I don't work for them. I have contacted their customer service a few times and never got a response. So there's that. But the Inktense are fantastic. I got these in 2011, I believe. I don't know. I would have to go I probably should have looked this up. I hope nobody really cares when I got these things. I've had these all things for years, except for the 2 things that I showed you I got last year. So that's all. If you really want me to cite these things, I can. But just keep in mind, I get things, larger purchases for birthdays or Christmases. I was born in June, so birthday and Christmas are 6 months apart. I used to do that a lot when I was a child and just bank on those big holidays of when I would get money and when I would get a big purchase, because that's kind of when I can justify it. And I still do it as an adult. It's just been a lifelong habit of saying you got 6 months to save up and you can get yourself something. So that's what I've always done. And so yeah, I got the Inktense pencils. They only come in a 72 set, and at the time they were $72, so it was $1 a pencil, so that's a really good deal. I've only had to replace 3, and one of them was a mismanufactured one. So this purple here, yeah, it was this one, this purple, because purple is my favorite color, I guess, of course, was mismanufactured in my set. I didn't catch it at the time, so I did have to replace it individually, and I have 2 extras. So there's that. But aside from that, this is my original set. I do use them, but obviously I don't go through them constantly. I do have other supplies to choose from, so making my way around everything that I do kind of helps keep things in stock, as well as, you know, make sure that everything gets used. So yeah, that is the Inktense pencils. And then the last one, this was for my 35th birthday. I don't know when that was. I'm 38 right now, so it was 3 years ago. There you go. That's whenever it was. These were for my 35th birthday. These are the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils, and I've got a little swatch sheet for swatches. I hate making swatch sheets, but I use them, so I make them. And these, again, were a big splurge. I don't know if you know a lot about cystic fibrosis. It is a fatal disease, and that's the other reason that I can justify things for birthdays, because birthdays are kind of rare. So the 30th birthday was a big deal, the 35th birthday was a big deal, and I said, you know what, I'm going to get the most expensive pencils on the market, hashtag right now, because we're putting out the light fasts right now. So they're not quite the most expensive pencils on the market, I guess, but they were at the time. And I wanted to try them out, and I had an excuse of a very special birthday. So I went and got them, and they came in a purple case, and there were 72 at the time. I know there's new ones now, but my case only holds 72. And I don't use them a ton. That's the thing. It's one of those, they're so precious, I want to use it for a certain thing. And aside from doing my own work, like I said, I don't use super precious things all that often. So again, the museum pencils, which are also Caran d'Ache, and the Luminance, they don't get used a whole ton in coloring books, but they do still count. I have used them in coloring books. I have at least 10 pages I can think of off the top of my head that I used them on, so they do technically count as a coloring book supply. But they aren't my first things that I reach for. They're definitely not my everyday pencils. You can see they have all been sharpened, but yeah, they're not used constantly. So they're also just here to be pretty and to be a special reward for myself for, you know, not dying of cystic fibrosis. I guess if that's what we're going to call it, okay? And the very last supply is the Tombow dual brush markers. Now, again, with cystic fibrosis, it sucks. And one of the things that sucks about it is it makes it hard to breathe. Actually, that's a big hallmark of exactly just what it does. So it makes it hard to breathe. And for a few years there, it made it so hard for me to breathe that I couldn't use my Copic markers at all. If you know anything about Copic markers, they have a very low alcohol smell. Even if you are sensitive to chemicals, the likelihood that you will be that bothered by it is rather small compared to other alcohol markers on the market. Yes, I have tried many of them. So the fact that they started to bother me that much was really frustrating, especially since I had this gigantic case in front of me going, hey, use me, and every time I uncapped a marker, I couldn't breathe. So I was very frustrated, and then I went searching for something that was water-based, because obviously water-based markers don't have a smell. So I found out about Tombow dual brush markers. And these are cool because they have a brush like I am used to. It's not a real brush like the Kuretake brushes, which I had a hard time with because I have difficulties with my hand. I can hold this like this, but micro movements are very difficult for me. I have tremors. So being able to have a real brush so that I could accidentally crush into my project and get ink everywhere was a bad thing. Those could not live with me anymore. They went to a friend of mine. So this with a hard felt tip that mimicked the Copic markers really, really helped. And so I splurged on the, what was it, the 96 set? I got the 96 set, and then they came out with a bunch of new markers. I think it was another 12, so this is a case for the extra 12. I can't math. I think it's 120 something. Anyway, they went from 98 to 128, I think. Some weird number, okay? But yeah, they added extra ones, and so I had to get a different case. My friend was kind enough to purchase this for my birthday, I think it was. And yeah, because it was a stream. It was a stream that we did in 2019. So I really like these for double-sided coloring pages or double-sided coloring books because a lot of times these won't go through. I always, always, always test in every single book that I have. And I can, like, I think I can show you. This is a coloring book. It's a double-sided coloring book, and you'll see a lot of times I will sacrifice a page and test my water-based mediums. So one of those is these markers. I usually test with the black just so that I can make sure, and I do these lines. So I go over it several times just in case I go over the same spot while I'm coloring something. This is a really good book for that, by the way. Everything by Kanoko Igusa, really good with these things. So the question was, what are my favorite coloring supplies? Well, Copic markers, absolutely number one. Copic markers I will choose all the time. But if I can't use the Copic markers, it's kind of a toss-up between if I want to use these or if I want to use a water-based pencil, and it really will depend on the paper. And it'll depend on the look that I'm going for. Like I said, if I go for the Inktense, which are also water-based, well, they're very intense. Do I want that very bright, saturated look, or do I want something a bit softer? These are going to give me a saturated look as well. Did I already say? Yeah, these will give me a saturated look. The Inktense will give me a saturated look. So my options are the Neocolor, which are crayons, and they're a little bit softer, and you can get more of a pastel kind of underlayer in there, or the Albrecht Dürer pencils, which are going to have the whole 120 color range that I'm used to coloring with the Polychromos. So I can do that if I want a water-based layer. And I always prefer to color my pencils with an underpainted layer. So that's how I choose that. And then, you know, what do I want to, which pencils do I want to do to put the details in there? Well, it kind of depends on what I have used on the underlayer. If I use these and the paper is amenable to that, then I will use the Polychromos because the Polychromos are my favorite pencil. So those are my next choice as to as often as I can use them, I do, because I enjoy the coloring experience of a hard lead, a very sharp tip. They are still also light fast, even though it's not like you're putting your Copic or your coloring pages up on the wall, but if I did, they would be light fast. So that's also helpful. It's something to consider if you're making wall art, for instance. I've had that heartbreak before. It is literally the worst watching just your studio lights or your room, your regular overhead light in your room just destroy your supplies. Let's give you something prettier to look at, huh? Watching me gesture with my hands randomly for no reason. Look at the pretty colors. So yeah, that's the other choice. And you know, what kind of thing did I underpaint with? What kind of look am I going for? That is what determines how I'm going to use things and which supplies I'm going to use and in what order. And I think that that's kind of a good way to do it. And the only way to really be able to do that is to really know your supplies. And if I had come up with the proper times and dates and everything, you would know how long it takes me to acquire these things. I know I got 2 sets in 1 year, but technically I had used the the Prismacolors before, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. But I cannot stress enough the value that comes from buying a quality supply, a sustainable supply in the sense of, you know, not necessarily globally environmentally sustainable, because I don't really look into that. Maybe I should. I'm a millennial, so we're not really as into it as Gen Z, I guess. I'm nearly 40. I spend a lot of time on the internet, but I don't spend that much time. But sustainability in the sense of being able to replace things as I go through them without having to spend an entire, set's worth of money. I don't have to buy 120 new pencils. I need to buy this one when it runs out, is my point. You'd think someone that talks for a living would be better at it, but I am not. We use professional streamer as a joke. It is ironic. It is never true. You'd think I'd be able to talk better. I cannot. So yeah, the idea is that it's sustainable in that way where I can just purchase exactly what I need. I do look for light fastness just because in case I want to do wall art or in case I want to do my own pieces. It's not a deal breaker, but it is something to consider. And then coloring experience is also a big thing, exactly where it would work into my my projects, when I would need to reach for it, what all it can do as far as my personal coloring style, which I have formed over many years, obviously, if it will work with my particular style. Because getting a recommendation on, oh, this is really good and this does this and this does that from somebody that doesn't color like you at all is not as valuable as using the supply yourself and actually working with it, seeing what it can do for you in your hands. That was one of the things that I noticed almost immediately, even starting coloring, brand new, never done it before, with Copic markers. They make you look good. There's something about them. They are so high quality and so beautiful and so great to work with. I'm sorry, I'm a Copic fan. That they make you look good even if you're trash. And I have found that with really good coloring supplies across the board. And every time that I have purchased budget supplies, I have been disappointed that they either make me look bad or make me have to work harder to make them look good. And I'm not here for that. I'm here for ease and, relaxation and everything. There's a reason I cheat in video games. I'm not here for hard mode. I'm just not. This is my leisure time. I'm not here to be trying the same level over and over again. I'm not going to do that in video games, and I'm not going to do it in coloring. I want ease of use and enjoyability as top priority. So that's also how I pick supplies. And what I have found, again, over years, is that the artist quality things are going to get me that. And, like I said at the beginning, I don't want this to be seen as, oh, I'm a snob because this, or you need to have a lot of money to color or anything like that. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is my collection is curated for my coloring style, my needs, and my budget, and it took years to do. So don't sit here and be like, oh, I have to go and get everything that Erin has, be really surprised by the price point and think that I'm living the life. I'm not. I haven't been. The financial seasons are a roller coaster. We all know that, I think. And yeah, you're going to have to make choices for your own budget. That's why budget supplies exist. They just didn't work for me. That doesn't mean they can't work for you, and that doesn't mean that they're inherently bad or you're bad for not being able to afford the higher quality supplies or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I'm looking for and why I made the choices that I made. But I can stress that whatever you happen to have, whatever you purchase, take the time to get to know what it can do and what it can do in your hands. Because seeing somebody else on the internet make amazing things, I watch somebody on Instagram that makes the most detailed, complicated things with a $1 ballpoint pen. Can I do that? No. I don't have that control, I don't have that skill, and I'm not going to take the time to learn that supply. So it really matters that you take the time to learn your supplies, learn what they can do for you, and learn what they can do in your skill set and in your hands. And I think that that will help people across the board, because if you have a lot of things, then it can get very complicated of, oh, I don't know what to choose and I don't know when to do that and I'm so overwhelmed and, when can I use these? I don't know because I'm not really sure if this will work for that kind of thing. I know that instinctually because I know what they will do. Like I said, when I purchase things, it's usually because I'm reaching for something I don't have. I need blank to be able to get this look. I know what look I'm going for because I color like this and I need this. Is it there? No, I need to go get it. And that's when I start to do my research. That's when I'll maybe purchase a smaller set. Like with these, I got a set of 6 and I tested them out and I decided to see if they worked or not. And sometimes, like, you pay a higher price for the smaller sets like that, but it can really help. If you're not going to use it, buying the whole set isn't going to help you. So, you know, take the time to work with something in a smaller capacity and see if it'll work. That's why I bought the smaller set of the Holbeins. Was it ridiculously expensive for 12 of them? Like I said, this was, I think it was $24. So it's about, you know, $2 a pencil. Versus the entire set was $200. The entire set of, what are there? 150? Is it 150 or 120 Holbeins? I don't know. The point is, these were expensive for how little you got. But I used them. And I used them in several streams. You can watch them on the channel if you want. I used them in several streams, and I decided if they were going to work with my supplies, if I enjoyed using them, and what all they could do before I spent the money on the larger set. And sometimes that's just a better way to do it. But yeah, I think that's about it. I've talked for 40 minutes. Holy crap. All right, no wonder my throat hurts. I hope that this was informative to you. Like I said, this wasn't to show off or anything like that. I had people asking. I've seen other people do these videos. I figured that this might be valuable to someone. I don't know. But that is my process on how I choose my supplies. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below. What are your favorite supplies? Do you like to splurge on the really expensive things? Do you have an entire wall of budget supplies that you look at just because it makes you happy? What is your favorite medium versus as far as pencils or markers? Are you just a marker person or are you just a pencil person? Let me know in the comments. Engagement is great. Don't remember to like, or don't remember at all. Don't even think about liking or subscribing or following the channel, and don't you dare hit that notification button. Don't do it because it's just silly. Anyway, that's all from me. I did not realize this would be so long. I can talk about colors for a very long time before I start repeating myself, which I know I did. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.